for an ethic. And actually, as I thought about this and I look about the people who are surrounding me, thinking about it in the professional understanding of a lady on my right, I begin to think about lacrimate. She's an ophthalmologist, so she understands. Because we have with us some very, very talented people. Not tremendously more talented than you have the potential to be. But the difference between you and they and that is that they have already demonstrated living up to some of their potential. 20 or 30 years from today will determine whether they've lived all of their potential. And I will do, in some ways, the best I can from memory to introduce all of them. And then they can add, they've been told that they have to introduce themselves, but I've taken that away from them. Is that not good?
I have to put it in the room. Is there anybody who didn't hear what I had to say?
I can
Dr. Gunn.
Would that be helpful?
What?
I was fine.
Okay.
Can you hear me without interrupting? What, use it or don't use it?
Do you need it? Do you need the
Do
microphone?
I need the microphone?
Yes.
This side is
Yes.
This pocket can't hear because of the
Okay. All right, I will use the microphone. So, at any rate, one of the things that students, first of all, today was inspired by a number of students saying, we want to hear from people who have gone through the program. And you know, I too read College Confidential every now and then. And I look at people who have said, well, you know, in the GPPA program, they don't take the best because they know they know the best won't come. Well, I think that data is the best way of destroying nonsense. So by the end of today, I think you will see the data that is not true. You will also see that students can do well whether they come to the University of Illinois at Chicago Medical School or they go to other medical schools. And we will encourage, as I've said to you before, doing both depending on what you feel is best for you. So before I start to introduce these people, I want to talk to you a bit about the great number or some of the accomplishments of some of the people who couldn't be here today, and some of the new news that is just so-called off the press. First of all, there was in a class a number of years ago that Michael Shih was over there, that Michael Shih was a member of. There were two other students, Gaurav Keha and Michelle Gentile. All three of them went to UK schools as a gap year. Michael and Gaurav went to Oxford to work in an immunology lab, and Michelle went to Cambridge to work in a lab that was studying the genetics of gastrointestinal cancer. Gaurav, instead of just doing a master's degree, ended up doing a PhD. And then applied to the Harvard Medical School and the Johns Hopkins Medical School, and was accepted by Hopkins and not by Harvard. And he then turned Hopkins down, reapplied the next year to Harvard. And I said that he was crazy, but he was right and I was wrong, because going to Harvard was a dream of his, and the next year he was accepted to the Harvard Medical School. This year he is graduating, and he just wrote me to say that he has gotten a residency at the Massachusetts General Hospital in internal medicine. That's as good as you can get in America. Michelle went to Northwestern Medical School, graduated, and she is doing a residency in radiation oncology. So those are two successes. I'll talk to you about Michael in a minute. In the class before them, we had the new Goyal, Segun Desai, and Vandana Kangwa. The new and Segun, well, all three of them went to Oxford. The new worked in the laboratory of Colin Blakemore, who became the director of the Medical Research Council. The Medical Research Council in the UK is equivalent to the NIH. And Manu did a project, he was a bioengineering student. Manu did a project of his own choosing on the brain and whether people who are blind and use Braille, if you look at what areas of the brain light up, do the visual areas light up or do the sensory areas light up? And he found that the visual areas lit up even when a person was using Braille as a substitute for vision. He then, Segun worked in the same lab that Michael Shih worked in, and Segun did a project on surfactant and pulmonary immunology. They came back. Segun came to UIC. Manu went to the University of Chicago. They got married. Manu, both of them went to Barnes Hospital in St. Louis. By the way, Manu was the first Indian wedding. But the wedding of Manu and Segun was the first Indian wedding that I had gone to. For those who've never been to an Indian wedding, I learned that it's really a challenge. So, at any rate, it was a delightful event. Manu rode in on the horse rather than an elephant because there weren't 3 elephants to spare in Chicago. But at any rate, so they both went to Barnes Hospital in St. Louis. Manu is now a practicing neurologist. Segun did hematology oncology, was chief resident, and is now doing a hematology oncology fellowship. There was a third member of that group, Vandana Kangar. Vandana worked in epidemiology with Sir Richard Dahl, who 55 years ago discovered that smoking causes cancer of the lung. And she worked on an epidemiology project with Richard Dahl and Valerie Burrell on studying the epidemiology characteristics of 1 million women. She then came back to UIC and has done a residency in internal medicine at New York University. And then closer to now, we have Julia Geinesman. Julia was a Russian Jewish immigrant to America. And when she came here on day one, when we talked, she had a passion to understand how Russian physicians were absorbed into the Israeli medical system. And she worked at it. She also worked in my lab for a while, and some other things. And she won a Fulbright fellowship to go to Israel to, in fact, study how Russian immigrant physicians were absorbed into the Israeli medical system. She came back to America, went to the University of Michigan. She's just graduated, or graduated from the University of Michigan, and she matched an OBGYN at Cornell Medical School. To some more good news. One, someone out in the audience, namely Wenji Go, has won a Goldwater Fellowship. Another one of the Goldwater. And Alan Tang, who is sitting next to me, and getting redder by the minute, is going to University of Pennsylvania to do an MD PhD program after being accepted by about 6 or 7 MD PhD programs. So I don't think I need to go into more chapter and verse about the successes of students who are sitting in your seats, or in fact, how proud we are of them. So let me introduce the members of the panel. All the way over on my left is Michael Richards. It seems like only yesterday when he appeared in my office as an advisee, already interested in public health and less interested in medicine, but he ended up graduating from the GPPA program and graduating from the University of Illinois College of Medicine, and also getting an MPH at the same time. He always knew that he wanted to do public health, and he applied to a number of eminent institutions like Johns Hopkins and the University of Michigan, and he was also accepted by Yale. The only person except Yale in the program that Michael is in accepts one person nationally a year. He was that person for his year. And Michael has taught with us in the GPPA program 2 years, and his schedule included his teaching this year. So we thought we would maximize him for a quick day and a half. So he's going to participate in this panel, and he is giving the professionalism in medicine seminar tomorrow, which you're all invited to by demand. And then next to him is Nilay Shah. Nilay is now a medical student at Northwestern. He chose to challenge himself by doing an externship or internship at the NIH. And I remember a wonderful breakfast brunch that we had in Bethesda, Maryland, with Nilay and a couple of others. And then there's Michael Shih, who, as I said, graduated from the GPPA program, went to Oxford, did a Master of Science degree in immunology, came back to UIC, graduated from medical school, did PGY, postgraduate year training at Rush. He was this year chief resident. Next year he's doing a cardiology fellowship at Rush. So he's done very well. Alan, I just sort of described, he has spent time of his own finding at the Medical College of Wisconsin, where he did some really wonderful original research on prostate cancer, and then 2 years, and then came back to UIC to do research in the Department of Chemistry. None of the things that he's done as research have been trivial, and he's been, by and large, the lead researcher on the projects that he's done. So he hasn't in any way acted as a technician. Shama Patel has been keeping me honest for a number of years by explaining to me the pluses and minuses of the GPPA program. Her advice is always on target, whether it's directed at me or away from me. And just the other day, we had a long session on the role, the problem of the M1 at UIC Medical School. Shama has been a delight, and I think sees things in a very objective way from the standpoint of the student. And finally, we may have one additional person, but finally we have Shuchi Patel, who graduated from the GPPA program, did a Master of Science in Biochemistry here, then went on to the University of Chicago, where she did her medical training, and then did a residency in ophthalmology, then she did a fellowship in ophthalmology at Harvard, and now she's an assistant professor of ophthalmology at Loyola. So we have a distinguished group of people here who have met the challenges of the GPPA program and have gone more than just accepting the concept that on day one they had a guaranteed place in medicine. So I'm going to ask all of them to reflect for no more than 5 minutes on how they think the GPPA program has contributed to their pathway professionally, and whether they agree that the 5 competencies that we've defined are appropriate for the rest of your life. So we'll start with Shuchi.
Thanks for inviting me. It's an honor to get to come back and see everybody. So, as Dr. Shah mentioned, I was here for my undergrad and then stayed for a master's. So I did not go to medical school here, but I can definitely reflect on what my 3 years here were like. So I think that this program really did open up a lot of doors for me. It kind of showed me what was out there, and then also showed me what potential I had. And by that, I mean it introduced me to people who became great mentors, people who stayed my mentors, people I stayed in touch with. And I think that a lot of medicine is really about having the right mentors and having that guidance, because a lot of things are just new, and you're trying to figure them out, you're feeling overwhelmed, and having the right people guide you is really what's kind of important. And I think the GPPA program does that really well. Right when you get in, they give you a mentor, and they give you someone that can guide you. I don't know if things have changed since I've been here, but that's how we had it in the first year, and have meetings with them, and they can really help you out. I think you have classmates, everyone's on the same page. Everyone feels that they're a team, and that's really important. Dr. Chambers mentioned Manu and Samu, and they were actually my classmates, and that's kind of actually how I even got interested in doing a master's, was because I talked to them, and so you learn from your own classmates, and I think that's really important. And from other people that I talked to at different medical schools, different places, I feel like there's maybe a little more sense of competition, or not as much camaraderie as I felt I had here. So those are one of the things I could comment about from my experience. And then going to these competencies, I think if you are in the program and you have good mentors, and you really kind of take advantage of all of the opportunities that are available, you really are getting all of those competencies. I can especially comment, I guess, on, I don't know if you guys have the same sheet, but number 4, where it says, kind of being knowledgeable in areas that will help you enjoy a life, including other things. I think that having, being in the program really does allow you to explore other things, and allows you to really see the world from a different perspective, and having mentors that will push you to see that, I think is really important. And I have to say, my decision on where I went to medical school was a lot based on my mentor, and based on the support of my mentors and people who advised me, and kind of really helped me see outside of not just UIC and GPPA, but even outside of medicine, what I want to do in my life. And I really found that amazing, that someone could support me to even if it meant leaving the school or going elsewhere. And I think that that's a really strong point of the program, is having that as an option, and having someone, lots of mentors who are really willing to support you in a lot of your decisions and advise you, not for your own gain or anything like that, but for what's best for you. And so in all those perspectives, I think that my decision to come here was one that really, really helped me kind of formed everything that I did after that. Because if I was on a program like this, I'm not sure I would have done a master's. I'm not sure I would have
boards that are distinguished scholars and faculty of college of medicine that have been doing this and being around students like you for a very long time is a remarkable asset that you should be taking full advantage of because they can help you think through a lot of the complicated decisions in life. So I distinctly remember the first time I walked into Dr. Jacob's office at all of 19 years of age, lacking any wisdom or idea of what I wanted to do. But just as you said very early on, I was very drawn to social science and health. And I think the first time we met, I was convinced I was going to be an anthropologist. And so we sat down and we talked about being an anthropologist. And Dr. Jacobs, because he had all